Hey there Cosmic Warriors, and welcome back to another video. And if you are new here, my name is Hannah. I am a Western Practical Astrologer. Okay, so in today's video, we're going to be talking all about the mythologies of Leo. Yes, we're going to be looking at Mesopotamian mythology, Egyptian, Greek. That way you can gain a deeper understanding of this enthusiastic sign. Stay tuned because we're going to get into it. But before we do dive into today's video, don't forget to subscribe, hit that like button and click the bell. And if you are interested in any of my services, if you're interested in booking a reading with me, then you can visit my website, hannahselsewhere.com. There you can also find my practical astrology ebooks, guide, merch, cheat sheets, all that good stuff. All the links to these products will be in the description box. And I also want to say just a big thank you to my patrons over at Patreon. If you do want extra astrology content early, as well as guides, head on over to Patreon. I hope that you find this video to be helpful. Let's do this. Okay, so I just want to give a massive shout out to the author of this book, Astrology for Lovers, Liz Greene. Thanks to Liz Greene's knowledge, I have been able to create this very series. I highly recommend this book. All right, so let's start off by turning our attention to ancient Babylon. The constellation of Leo was known by the name, I will insert the words here, the Great Lion. And the bright star, Regulus, which is the brightest star in the constellation of Leo, Regulus was referred to as the star that stands at the lion's breast. Regulus is strongly tied to royalty, being regal, monarchy, and is also known as the king star. Also as the lion's heart, okay? And in Latin, Regulus means the little king or prince. How interesting, right? And apparently, Regulus is not really a single star, but rather is a multiple star system. Regulus consists of two pairs of stars. Now, Leo was one of the earliest constellations to be recognized, and there is evidence that the Mesopotamians they recorded a similar constellation as early as 4000 BCE. And when looking to the Sumerians, some mythologists believe that Leo represented the monster Humbaba, who was the monster with a lion's face. I do remember in the Aries mythology video, I mentioned that to the ancients, the vernal equinox began within the constellation of Taurus. The Pleiades was marked as the vernal equinox, also known as the spring equinox. And this star cluster marks the bull's shoulder. Now, according to J.H. Rogers, animals such as lions, bulls, and scorpions were depicted in early Mesopotamian artwork. And at about 3200 BC, signs Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius marked the four cardinal points: the spring equinox, the summer solstice, the fall equinox, and the winter solstice. This is very significant because today we associate the cardinal signs with these points, okay? The cardinal signs being Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn. Moreover, according to other sources, the ancient Babylonians referred to Leo as the great dog, and there was actually no reference to the lion. This is important, and stay with me whilst I explain this, okay? Do you recall when I spoke of dog days in a recent video about the origins of astrology? The term dog days refers to the hottest period of the year, and this period is from the 3rd of July until the 11th of August, when Sirius rises and conjuncts the sun. This period aligns with the constellations of Cancer and Leo. But you see, Sirius is also known as the dog star or as Sirius A. This name means glowing in Greek. Sirius is a binary star in the constellation Canis Major, which is Latin for the greater dog. Even J.H. Rogers says that, okay, the words again to do with Leo actually means the great dog. So, was it great lion or great dog? Was it both? Perhaps things have changed over time, and perhaps what is clear is that Leo is tied to the height of summer. Now, in Sumer, Inanna was the goddess of war and fertility and was called Labatu, which I'm going to put the words again, meaning lioness. Her throne shows a pair of lions, and she was depicted with her foot on the back of a lion. Now, in the Aries mythology video, I said that Inanna had associations with beauty, sex, divine law, political power. She was often named the Queen of Heaven. And in the Babylonian version, she was referred to as the Lioness of Heaven. And do you remember the myth I shared about Inanna and Dumasud, and how this myth represented death and rebirth, the changing of the seasons? Well, in the ancient world, summer was seen as a representation of death. During the summer months, the land dried up, and so the ancients thought that the shepherd Dumasud had died. Indeed, the sun is often at its hottest during the season of Leo. Again, this brings us back to the term dog days, the hottest period of the year, a period of decline, a period of inactivity, and how there is the song by Florence and the Machine titled "The Dog Days Are Over." So the period after the heat and the sweat and the sleepiness, it's hard to get anything done when it's so hot. Therefore, what we notice about Leo is its strong association with the sun. Of course, the sun is the ruler of Leo in astrology, and then the sun is exalted in the sign of Aries, the sign of creation, fertility, and springing into action. Naturally, Leo also represents creation. Leo represents the sustainment of life, the continuation of life. It's the sign of individuality, life force, vitality, and to consider even how Regulus is the heart of the lion, and Leo is a very heart-centered sign. It's a very warm sign, a very generous sign. Leo actually rules the heart in astrology. It's also a sign tied to royalty, power, and dignity. Leo is indeed a very regal sign. And this is interesting to me because you've got to consider the number of royal people with Leo placements. Okay, we're going to go over a few. Kate Middleton has a Leo rising. Queen Elizabeth II had a Leo moon. King Charles III has a Leo rising. Prince Philip had a Leo rising and moon. And both William and Harry have their vertex in Leo in their chart. I do just want to apologize if I am referring to them, if I'm not referring to their names, their proper titles correctly. I do apologize if I'm not, but I just wanted to display just the connections there with the sign of Leo. All right, so let's now move on to the Egyptian mythology of Leo. In ancient Egypt, the constellation of Leo was referred to as the Great Sickle. And a sickle is an agricultural tool used for harvesting cereal crops or cutting grass for hay. So thinking about those associations with farming and harvest. The Egyptians also worshipped the lion-headed goddess named Sekhmet. Now, Sekhmet was a warrior goddess, and it is said that her breath created the desert. She served as an example of the sun during midday. This was when the sun was hottest in the sky. Sekhmet means she who is powerful. She was the goddess of the hot desert sun and also the goddess of war, chaos, and healing. And get this, Sekhmet was created from the fire of the sun god Ra's eye when he looked upon Earth. Now, do you remember, just in the Aries mythology video, we talked about Ra. Remember Ra's associations with Aries, the first sign. And so what we're noticing here are these connections with Leo. And the other thing about this as well is Sekhmet was the protector of the pharaoh and also led him into battle. It's also said that she protected children. So whilst she was this terrifying goddess who led pharaohs into warfare, when she was in a much more calmer and relaxed state, she would take the form of the household cat whose name was Goddess Bastet. And there is this one myth about Sekhmet that tells the story of how Ra sent her to punish those who conspired against him. However, she was so overpowered by her KILLING spray that she could not stop. And so Ra had to do something to stop her. So he basically poured a ton of beer onto the land but made it look like blood. Sekhmet then unknowingly drank the beer and got really, really drunk, and she staggered home. So that was one way to stop her. I'm assuming she turned back into a household cat by that point. Moreover, some sources say that the Sphinx in Egypt was built during the age of Leo, and the age of Leo was around 10,000 BCE. And then the Sphinx represents the lion turning into the goddess and is a basis for the stories of sun god sacrifice in many mythologies. Essentially, there is something about the sacrifice of the sun, okay, here. The ending of summer. Okay, lastly, let's explore the Greek mythology of Leo. Greek mythology is always my personal favorite. There are a couple of different myths that I wish to share. Firstly, let's think about sun god Helios, who was the guardian of oaths and the god of sight. He drove his chariot across the sky each day and provided sunlight to Earth. Helios's mother was Leto. She was one of Zeus's many lovers who he should not have been loving on, okay? Because he was married, right? He was married to Hera. Anyway, as Leto was seeking refuge from the wrath of Hera, she fled to the island of, I'll insert the word here, where she gave birth to Artemis, who was the goddess of the moon. Now, Leto and her daughter were not welcomed into any community as Hera made it so that she couldn't. But eventually, Leto gave birth to Helios on a barren rock called Delos, again, words. Now, Helios was very gifted. He skillfully killed a giant serpent named the Great Python, who guarded Delphi, and he established his holy place at the site. The priestess of his shrine was known as the Pythoness, and she later became known as the Delphi Oracle throughout the world. The Delphi Oracle provided guidance and answers to those who were seeking assistance, and apparently on one of the gates of the Delphi Oracle, the words "Know thyself" was written, and on the other gate, "Nothing in excess." Now, Helios's own son, Python, again, I'll insert the name here. Now, Python was excessive, and his own arrogance led him to his destruction. He was determined to drive his father's chariot, but the horses were too difficult to handle. And so as Python was being dragged by these wild horses, parts of the earth were being destroyed. And so Zeus sent a thunderbolt to put a stop to the chaos, and unfortunately, well, Pythian lost his life. And this is where we notice the qualities Leo can often lack. Qualities of moderation, reflecting on one's actions, failing to see the wider network, the bigger picture at times, due to being so wrapped up in oneself. Consider where Leo sits in the Zodiac. Opposite Aquarius, the sign of compromise and community and grips. Between the signs Cancer and Virgo. Cancer is the hidden self of Leo. Cancer encourages Leo to integrate qualities of sensitivity and remorse. And Virgo correlates with the qualities Leo is here to learn. The qualities Leo grows into. Qualities of discernment, modesty, and detail. Notice how both the Greek myth and the Egyptian myth point toward little willpower, a lack of self-control, being excessive, arrogance, rage, thinking one knows better, being an out of control hero, or thinking one is being a hero when in actuality it's all about the self. See, Leo can also be self-centered and power-driven. However, Leo can also be very protective, protecting the young and the vulnerable, protecting loved ones. Okay, so let's now get into the final myth before we tie everything together. Leo is also connected to the Greek story of Hercules and the Lion. Story goes, Hercules was taking part in 12 trials, and the first of his trials was to locate and kill the lion Nemean. This lion was huge beyond compare and was very strong and very powerful. However, Hercules was not aware of the Nemean's power and strength or of its size. As Hercules went to shoot his arrows at the lion, it only made the lion more angry at him. The arrows, well, they weren't doing Hercules much good. Hercules then ran towards the lion, but the lion took refuge in a cave. This cave had 2 entrances, so Hercules blocked off one entrance and ran into the other entrance and hit the mighty lion over the head with his club. This was enough to shock the lion. Hercules then went to cut the pelt off the lion so that he could retrieve it and bring it back in order to prove his win. However, he realized he could not cut the pelt successfully. After many attempts, Hercules used the lion's claws to cut the skin. Hercules then brought the pelt back and kept it as a type of armor for him to wear, sort of like a trophy. Alright, so through the story of Hercules and the lion, we recognize qualities of Leo that are brave, noble, and creative. After all, Hercules did run toward that mighty lion and came up with the idea of blocking off one entrance and entering through the other. And he also came up with that idea of using the lion's claws to cut the pelt, right? So yeah, being quite creative in this respect. However, we also recognize qualities of Leo here that can be boastful and self-praising. Hercules did wear the lion's pelt as a way to show his victory off with pride. Still, whilst Leo can show up as being self-centered, it is also about self-recognition here, right? So self-recognition that is Leo's power and strength too. Through Leo, we learn about the importance of taking the hero's journey by becoming who you actively and consciously choose to create. Not to shine because you want to be recognized by others, but because you are that very way, with or without the attention and the applause. But at the same time, if we are celebrated, that is so remarkable and that's great. And it's nice to feel appreciated. It's nice to be recognized. I think there is a need within us as humans to be recognized by others too. And also remembering that children need attention, they need love, they need approval. We all desire appreciation and self-acceptance on some level. And it's Leo, which is tied to the likes of children and the inner child and romance and feelings of specialness. And if we were not seen as children, this can be very difficult for us then as we become adults. Leo is also a very romantic and pleasure-seeking sign. It's a sign of fun, play, enjoyment, entertainment, but it is a sign of royalty, much like we were discussing at the beginning. And you see, overall, Leo is here to be creative. There is always something Leo is creating with desire and passion. Okay then, Cosmic Warriors, so that concludes my video talking all about the mythology of Leo. Please let me know if you find this video to be helpful. Did you learn something new? I would really appreciate your feedback, and like you, I'm always learning. You can find all of the sources that I use in this video in the description box down below. And I want to say thank you so much to my patrons over at Patreon. And as always, let me know your thoughts and your opinions on today's video. But with all of that being said, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for subscribing. And of course, if you would like to see more videos from myself and you have not yet subscribed, then make sure that you click that subscribe button and also give this video a like if you did like it today. And I will be back with another video very soon. Bye.